Sharing best practices is an integral part of learning for any educationist. I am very pleased now to invite our next speaker, Mrs. Pratima Sinha, who is equally keen to throw her light on effective teaching and learning practices for high achievements. Mrs. Pratima Sinha holds the position of CEO at DRS Education Society, Hyderabad, which has 7 schools named Birla Open Minds International under its umbrella. Her career graph showcases more than 3 decades of progressive qualitative experience across a wide gamut of functions in the field of education. A postgraduate in education with a diploma in early childhood education and business English. She has headed schools with CBSE,
Sound.
ICSE, IGCSE,
చూడని first.
IB programs and is on the advisory boards of organizations IECS and ISLI. She has also held the position of regional academic head with Pearson Education, supporting and guiding schools under Pearson Education. She was part of academic audit, curriculum developing and planning, teacher training, mentoring, and monitoring team of Pearson and visited schools across the country. She is EdExcel Pearson Teacher Training, certified trainer and has conducted various workshops for teachers and principals. She has received many awards for her exemplary work in the field of education. Her articles have been published in various educational magazines like Mentor, Digital Learning, Brain Feed, and Edu Excellence. Education World, to name a few. She has been the external examiner for ICSE examinations, Center Superintendent and Observer of GCTET NEET examinations held by the CBSE board. She has guided many schools for affiliation to CBSE and IB. She has participated in educational conferences as a speaker and panelist. She has done extensive research and developed many modules in teaching pedagogy as a pre-service teacher training program and English enhancement program for adults. Her passion for performing arts has led her to be a member of Nishumbita Theatre Group, where she has played many pivotal roles. She is right now working and researching on correlating life skills with theater and benefits of theaters as an alternate therapy for Austin. Over to you, Mrs. Pratima Sinha.
Thank you so much, Shilpa. And thank you, IIM, for inviting me as a speaker and also a jury member. Of course, I was with IIM last year also, and I really, really enjoyed myself. Taking it forward, IIM has really improved and grown in leaps and bounds from what it was last year. And it is giving a very good platform to the teachers across the country to understand where they stand and how they can take forward their instructional designs and their teaching, improve improvisation of their teaching. So it's giving a good platform, and I'm so happy to be part of this organization. So thank you so much for inviting me today. To start with, I've been given a very big topic, and please understand that I'm not going to speak so widely. What I understand today is that we are there to change, okay? Change is inevitable. What was there yesterday and what we are going to do tomorrow is very, very important. As teachers who are molding the students for their future, we have to change according to the time. Otherwise, we will be non-existent, right? So please keep that in mind, that change is inevitable, we have to change ourselves and our way of thinking, our mindset, and move ahead. Only then I would say that whatever your instructional strategies, whatever are your teaching strategies, how good you are, will all come out only when your mindset is ready to open up, change, and find new things, research for new things, and move ahead. With that, I'd like to share my presentation. So, as I told you, my topic which I was given was very, very big, and half of it actually I couldn't really understand. Effective teaching learning practices for high achievement. So, whatever learning practices that we want to actually bring it to the classroom, we have to keep in mind that the result has to be high achievement for sure. Now, as educators, we are not prepared to initiate significant transformation now in order to best meet current known context. If we are not prepared, I would like to underline that point, that as educators, if we are not prepared for the transformation, the significant transformation, what is required in the 21st century, we don't know tomorrow what kind of job opportunities will be there for our children. We don't know what jobs will be obsolete, what we feel that the jobs are very paying jobs today may be obsolete tomorrow. So how do I prepare myself so that I can give the information to my student? So that would be, I would say, the change that we need to inculcate and bring about in order to best meet current known context. Then we have already failed the next generation and those to come. So if we are not prepared today, we will definitely fail the next generation. That is what people are talking about, that we are talking about 21st century skills, but do we have the skills of 21st century so that we can take it to the students, so that it can filter to the students? So that is what is very, very important. Today, all the young teachers who are attending the session, please understand that even the feedback that you get today, you have to store it. I remember when I was a teacher, so any feedback that was given to me, I used to be very open to it, and I used to store it. I used to absorb it like a sponge, and only then I felt, yes, that is where I've grown and I have come to this level. So always, we should be ready for changes. Now, today's educational jargons. Children learn best on their feet and not on their seat. Please remember that we are now talking about 21st century. We are talking about lots and lots of new jargons. Okay, children, right now, of course, because we are on online, this is again, children are on their seats and they are learning through digital platform. But when they come back again, we have to ensure that they are in action, they are on their feet and not always on their seat. This is the new jargon. Please remember it. The future of learning is deep and digital, right? It is very, very deep. It's going to, we have to dive deep into the learning, not just the peripheral and not just the subjective, but we have to dive very, very deep into all the context, all the relevance, all the skills, all the attitudes, and then, of course, digital is going to happen. Education for life or education for livelihood. This again is always a question mark, always debatable, that what kind of education are we giving? Are we giving education for life, lifelong learning, or we are just giving education for the child to become an engineer or a doctor, right? So this is again a jargon that is being discussed about. Action is the foundational key to all success. Okay, so we are now talking about the child not being on the seat, but experience it, but in action himself or herself, And that is the key of the success for the child. Positive culture of learning, whether the child is an average child, whether the child is below average child, but the culture of teaching and learning has to be very, very positive. We cannot pinpoint, we cannot say this child is not up to the mark or he's not attained 90% marks. No, that is all gone now. We have to start thinking in a different way. Paradigm shift from standardized learning, that this particular thing I have given you, these are the answers that have been given to you. Everybody has to learn these answers and that's what they need to reproduce. No, it is not that one shirt fits everybody. We have to think now that if I have 25 students or 28 students or 30 students per se, I have to that's why we are talking about the learning styles, we are talking about know the students, we are talking about the understanding of the potential of each and every child. So there is a paradigm shift from being standardized to personalized learning. Stop delivery and start designing. You are today, what you're presenting, all of you, all the teachers, participants, is you have designed an instructional plan for your classroom, for the 40-minute classroom. So we are now talking about designing rather than just delivery. So this is very, very crucial again. Transdisciplinary learning enables thinking that has no limits. So we cannot just restrict the child to the four walls. We cannot just restrict the child to the academic part per se, but we have to give exposure to the child on transdisciplinary skills, interdisciplinary skills, and there is no limit to it. So these are the educational jargons that are floating around, and these are very, very relevant. This is the time for transition, for sure. We have to move from second class robots to first class humans. We have to move from just delivery to designing. We have to move from the teacher controlling to increasing the curiosity in the child and giving the platform to the child to ask questions. In fact, right now when we were taking the as a jury member, we were part of it. So we were talking to the teachers that how are you ensuring that the child is becoming curious to know what you're teaching? How are you making the child curious? How are you making the child creative? We are talking, a lot of things about being creative. Am I creative? How can I make the child creative? So all these things we have to start thinking. Control you have to open your hands and give the platform to the child. Don't keep the control to yourself. Face to face. As I said, not on the seat, but it is to be outside on the feet. So blended learning that we are talking about today. Standardization to personal. Not everybody on the same platform, but everybody has got a different platform for themselves. Risk averse to risk taking. If I do this, will it help my child? It doesn't matter if 5 other teachers have never done it. That's okay. But I know my students, I know my classroom, and I should take the risk that yes, I want to introduce something new, something different, something which will actually help my students in the classroom. Whether the B section has done it or C section has done it or D section has done it, that's not the criteria. I need to take risk and I need to move ahead. Inequity to equity, that is where we talk about, partiality. Okay, the child who's been getting 96%, who's been very good and all that. Earlier, I know even I've gone through that we were actually our teachers are pretty partial. So we need to move out of that and give each and every child equal opportunity. Right or wrong. So earlier it was just whether it is you're right, there's a cross, red cross, or you're right, so there's a red tick. No, there are positives and there are pitfalls. We help the child to come out of the pitfalls. The feedback is there, the assessments are there. The feedback helps the child to understand where they need to work on, and they come back to positive. So this is where from right or wrong, just two directions, we have more direction for the child to grow. Answers, we were ready to give them answers. We used to write answers on the board, but now it's the time that we ask questions. We make the children ask questions. The more inquiry they do, the more questions they ask, the better it will be for their learning. We used to, now it's the time for collaboration, the teamwork. I've been seeing the instructional designs. A lot of teachers have mentioned about collaboration and teamwork. In fact, it is one of the part of the criteria. So these are this is the time that we need to transit from to the new norms. Now, we have been talking about the pedagogy of the educational pedagogy. But now we have to look into the heutagogy, that is self-directed learning. So pedagogy is about learning. Learner is very, very dependent. The teacher determines what, how, and when. And of course, till date, we have been following Bloom's taxonomy for our lesson plans and a base for how we need to take the child from remembering, understanding to the top level, to the peak, that is the creating. Now, Bloom's taxonomy is vertical, right? So a child first, it goes step by step. First remembering, then comes the next step, understanding, then comes applying, then analyzing, and so on and so forth. So it's a growth which is vertical, but now we are looking at a growth which is all round, right? It is not just vertical growth, but it is a growth which is for my skills, a growth for my attitude, a growth for my mathematical skills, a growth for my language skills, post-scholastic, and so on and so forth. So it is a whole circle of growth that we are looking at together, all together. That is what we call as holistic development, right? So that is where the new norm, or we need to start looking into it, and we need to start adopting the new taxonomy, that is Fink's taxonomy. Now, heutagogy is actually about self-directed learning. It is about metacognition. It is about multi and interdisciplinary skills. And that is where I feel that Fink's taxonomy actually relates very well with heutagogy. Okay, so when you do your own research and finding out, please go through this, that what is the difference between pedagogy and heutagogy, and how can we relate to it, and how can we bring it to our instructional design, how can we bring it to our classroom. That is very, very important. Now, when I'm talking, I'll just take you through this Fink's taxonomy. Later, I'll be dealing more with the heutagogy. So, significant learning should happen simultaneously, not like a vertical aspect, but simultaneously all together. So when I'm talking about learning how to learn, right? Learning skills, self-assessment of knowledge gaps, self-assessment, please make a note of it. Orientation to new learning environment. Then we talk about application, critical thinking and analysis. We talk about caring, finding the joy in medicine or looking after the child or whatever it is, providing satisfaction, human dimensions, human intelligence. We are talking a lot about emotional intelligence too. Emotionally, how we need to support the child, the emotional intelligence of the child. So human dimension also comes into the picture here. When we talk about self-awareness, self-regulation, internal motivation, empathy, and social skills. These are all very, very important skills that we are talking about today, and we need to integrate this in our lessons, in our classroom. And these are basically, as I told you, these are the strategies that you need to work on. You need to do research, finding out, and then tomorrow you can take them to the classroom. It's not that you're going to do it immediately. You cannot change it immediately, but this is how the future is going to be. So human dimension is going to be very, very important aspect of it. Why we are talking about self-awareness and self-regulation? Because we are talking about self-directed learning, right? When we talk about self-directed learning, we are talking about self-awareness, how much I'm aware of my potential. We are talking about self-regulation, how much I can plan on my own and take it forward. Internal, how am I internally motivated? How much empathy I can show to others. And in fact, I just attended a conference organized by Virtual School Australia. Their main theme was empathy in action. And you won't believe that there were people across the world who were speaking on empathy, empathy with finance, empathy, of course, with education, empathy with medicine, empathy with financials, education, medicine. There were so many aspects to empathy that were spoken about. Empathy for women upliftment. Then, so it was a wonderful exposure that I felt I had, that how the world is thinking and how empathy has become such an important aspect of teaching learning program. Social skills, right? We are talking about collaboration, so definitely social skills will come into the picture. Integration, reflection, and how we adapt the learner, the planner, the learn, the access, the adjustment. Foundation knowledge, why over what, depth over breadth. So this is how you have to start. This is how you have to start, reflecting on what is the future and how I'm going to adopt this into my future instructional design, right? So I have a small child who wants to also get into it, and I don't know how the screens come. Yeah. So when I talk about how are we going to take this forward, right? It's not a cakewalk. It's not going to be a cakewalk. I have to really plan. I have to have my goals in front of me, and how am I going to achieve this? So this is where I need to be very clear about how am I moving forward? How am I going to do my planning? What are my real goals here? What will my child benefit? How will they benefit? All these things have to be kept in mind. So I have to start planning. That planning is nothing but equip, a process of learning experience, right? So explore, E is for explore. That is, you have to discover, probe, search. I'm going on saying it is not there anywhere, but we have to start somewhere. The new teaching strategies that we need to adopt. So we have to start discovering, we have to start probing, we have to start searching for what am I talking today, and how I'm going to take it forward. How is it different from Bloom's taxonomy? How will each and every aspect of Fink's taxonomy help my students? Where can I place this? Where can I place that? So I have to do a lot of researching to do. Question, this is all about your own planning. Questions, you have to ask 101 questions. You have to ask, you have to challenge. That means you have to brainstorm. Maybe you should have meetings with the rest of the teachers, the department, the school, the staff meeting, and you have to ask, you have to challenge each other. How should we take it forward? We need to investigate further the details. Like I've been actually seeing all the instructional designs, and everybody is talking about a concept map and they're saying that it is a mind map. These are basic things, teachers. You should know the difference between what is a concept map and what is a mind map. Please open your Google and check out what is a mind map and see whether you are clear, you're sure that what you're showcasing as mind map is a mind map. Right? So all of you are youngsters, you have to start a lot of research work, you have to ask questions, you have to investigate, you have to actually arouse your own curiosity, because based on that you will be able to arouse the curiosity of the students in the classroom. So questioning, asking, please never feel that you will become small if you ask, and especially when you're starting something new, something different, when nobody has ever done it. This is what we call it as risk taking. It is one of the attitudes, risk taking. This is what you're going to do tomorrow if you really want to absorb this. Then we come to you, that is understand, know what you want, expand it, and reflect on it before you may put it into action. Right? So you should know, now you've done exploration, you have done questioning, you have understood what you want to do, you know what you want to do, you expand on that, and then you reflect and see that whether it will really work in the classroom or not work in the classroom, and how can I change it, or how can I bring any changes based on that. Next one, I imagine, become, invent, envision, create, design, and construct. NAP is also talking about designing. NAP is talking about creating. NAP is talking about invention. NAP is talking about innovation. NAP is talking about critical thinking, right? So if I do not critical think, then how will I expect my children to start thinking critically? Examples that you have been giving in your instructional design, most of you need to again go back to what exactly is critical thinking and work on it, and then bring it to the instructional design. So our imagination has to be very wide. Our imagination has to go beyond the classroom. Our imagination has to go globally to actually come up with something, design something very new, create something very different, and construct. So NAP is right now on talking about these things. This is actually the fire is there right now. Okay, and we have to get into it. We have to actually bring out the best from it and let it shine. That is what I feel. The plan. Then we have explored, we have questioned, we have understood, we have brought in a lot of creativity, designing, construction, new construction. So finally, we come to the plan. The plan can have challenges. It should be relevance. And finally, it should be ready for implementation. So planning again, I would repeat, the challenges would be there when you start working on it. Then you will understand that how relevant is it. And then finally, you will be able to implement it in your classroom. So this is the process that you have to follow to start new strategies in your classroom. Now, when we come to, I'll go back to Utogaji. So this is the actually picture which will clearly show you what does it mean. So Utogaji is basically about talking about self-directed learning, right? So now we have to start thinking that I as a teacher is not going to stand in front. I as a teacher will be standing behind my student. I will be giving a lot of opportunities to my student to work on their own, right? It should be, as we call it, the student-based learning or student-centric learning. This is the new mantra that we have to start thinking about, okay? And today we know children are very, very smart. They know exactly what to do if the teacher just guides them and helps them. See, this is where now you need to understand each and every student of your class, right? So maybe 10 of your students are at an excellent level, and then 20 of your students are at a very good level. 15 of them are at a level of maybe above average and few average. So how you make a planner where you can give them opportunities to learn on their own. And this, I'm telling you, when you give them the right opportunities, the child will become extremely confident of what he has learned, because he has done the research work on his own, finding out on his own, presentation on his own, and he knows exactly what he has learned. Right? So we have to now move from pedagogy to heutagogy. It is about metacognition, where we say that thinking about thinking. Okay, when we are talking about student-centric learning, it has to be the child has to think about a lot of things. He has to know, he should be able to plan, he should be able to organize, he should be able to monitor, he should be able to direct his own learning. That is important. Now, to think how to think is metacognition, which is part and parcel of heutagogy. What are the steps that I need to follow here? I'm wondering, this is the child's circle of thought. I'm wondering, what do I already know about this topic? When we are talking about KWHL, right? We have that. So in that, the child says, I know this, I want to know about this. How do I learn and what have I learned, right? So this is what it is. What do I already know about this topic? So I would say that please start this practice of giving the child, the first thing is giving the child the KWHL chart to start with, because that gives a clear picture. In fact, in IB schools and all, it's given to every child as soon as the theme starts. And also in IB schools, the child and the children and the teachers, they sit together and decide on what theme they want to take for the year. So that is, you're giving the students the choice of choosing the themes or the learning topics that they will be learning through the year. So that is the beauty of heutagogy. Okay, so what do I already know about this topic? Where did I get stuck when trying to solve this problem, right? So I think about it, and then I go back to my research, I go back to my finding out, where do I get stuck, and then I'll try to figure out, and I'll come up with another solution to it. So 101, that is where we call problem solving method, right? Project-based learning, problem solving learning. So the child is given a problem, he thinks about it, comes up with 101 solutions. It reminds me of, he rethinks, he recapitulates, he feels that he already knows something about it, right? And what is the assignment asking me to do? So how do I make my own assignment? After the topic is given, I researched, I found out everything. Now, how do I take the assignment? What kind of assignment will be good for me? I'm figuring out. Okay, so figuring out myself about my learning is the future of learning, for sure. So please do your own research, and I would say finding out, and try to change your method of teaching by giving the student that kind of scope of learning on his own. So this is what I've written here. A lot of research. You give the topic to the child, you introduce the topic, and you ask the child to do his own research. When you ask the child to do his own research, he'll come back and he will speak about it. See, this is where the child will find vast information about the topic. Now, now the skill of analyzing and synthesizing will come into the picture. That child has got vast information about that particular topic. So how much does he require for the presentation? How much he needs to delete and how much he needs to keep is basically nothing but analyzing, right? So the child's research-based skills will be highlighted. And here I would say, when the child is researching, as a teacher, I should be very, very good in my research. Right? We have to see, in our days, we used to go to the library, sit in the library and read new things, come up with different ideas, innovate in our own way. And now your time is that you sit and research on Google and find out how much more is there available on the net. Inquiry-based learning, which is already part and parcel of the IB curriculum, that they speak about how they take up the topic, not directly, but it starts with inquiry. The teacher doesn't go directly to the topic, but it starts with questioning skills. The more questions you can frame, the more questions that the child can frame, the better it will be. Because the question leads to another question. The third question leads to the fourth question. The why leads to lot of research, lot of curiosity, lot of finding out, right? So this is how you have to plan out. Flip learning is already happening, where part of it you give to the child to find out and research and come back and make the presentation. I've spoken about problem solving. There are lots and lots of small problems that the children can come up with, and when they research and find out, they'll be able to come up with solutions. And that is where, I personally feel that we need to inculcate this. Actually, it should become like a part of your classroom teaching, because today, if some problem comes in the house, I get very flustered, because I've not been given that kind of situations. I have not seen these situations where I can solve problems immediately. I'm not talking about now with experience. Yes, I can do it. But tomorrow, there are so many challenges that our children will face. Tomorrow, there will be so many, as I told you, new job profiles that children will face. Then they should be able to solve the problem immediately. This is why we call as a child who's not maybe good in academics, but if he's good in problem solving, if he's street smart, he will rise much above. He'll rise very quickly. So problem solving skills have to be inculcated. So you have to have activities in your instructional design, that how can I give exposure to the children to solve problems so that they become more confident. Critical thinking, we have been talking a lot about it. So when a child understands that something that has come up and how he need to analyze it first. He need to analyze the whole situation and think out of the box critically, that yes, after this, I can do this. After that, if that doesn't work, I can do something else. So critical thinking will be enhanced. Self-assessing. Yesterday, when Dr. Balasubramanian was speaking, actually he mentioned this point that NAP is talking about the child's self-assessment. So when the child knows what he is working on, when the child knows his own potential, he's aware of what he's learning, he will be definitely be able to self-assess himself and move forward. It's not that teacher's feedback is always there, but he knows that yes, somewhere he needs to rework, and he goes back and reworks on that. So these again is it's very important. Making choices, I've just given you an example that yes, it's not necessary if I have 10 topics, I have to go according to that. In fact, in IB schools and all that, what they do is, supposing the topic of rain is there, so instead of doing it in summer, they will try to do it in during rainy season, so they can relate it to the rainy season. So making choices, give the child choice. that yes, you can choose this or this, right? So this will also help the child to become very confident and say that yes, this is, and he'll be happy to do it. It's not that someone is forcing him to do about it. He's making his own choice and he's doing it. In fact, we have student-led conferences that we talk about where parents are invited and the child very, very proudly shows whatever he has learned in school. So no teacher is involved in that. The teachers sit outside, parents come in, they see the portfolio of the student, they see what the child has done. In portfolio also the child puts his own best work. He knows this is my best work and he talks about it to the parents, and this is how I learned about it. Not that the teacher told me like this, but this is how I've done my research and finding out and inquired about it, and I have put it in my portfolio. And he leads his parents in that conference. He is the person who's talking and informing his parents. So then we come to experiential. Experience does matter. I cannot just, that's what one of the participants I was telling, she had spoken about paragraph writing. Now with online classes, right, we can show them the world. We can make them experience so much. Even when we come back for offline classes, the experiences that we have to give to the children is very important. So whatever activities you plan, please see that experiential exposure is to be given to the child. That's why now internship programs have become so very important. All the schools are looking at internship programs for their students right from grade 8. NAP has come up with a solution for exposing children right from grade 8. They say that there will be a no bag day. One day will be a no bag day. Right. So that is where, when that no bag day, what are you going to do? You have to plan out in such a way that the child experiences whatever he's been learning in the classroom. So you have to really, really plan. See, your planning has to be good. After that, you can just sit back and nudge the child in the right direction. You don't have to really work after that. It's the child who will take over from you and do the needful. This is what your thought process should be. My planning has to be good. My instruction should be clear. My clarity of what I want should be clear in my planner. And I just present it to the children. And from there, my children will take it over. And that's where I'll sit back and watch them learning on their own. That is the beauty of pedagogy. Once I know everything, once the child has done his research, inquiry, problem solved, critical thinking, everything he has learned, he has to apply that knowledge. Now that application part is again very important. And that is where once the child learns on his own, right? He's self-directed. His learning is self-directed. He becomes so confident that yes, he knows where and how to apply his knowledge. He doesn't have to wait for anybody to tell him where to apply the knowledge. You know, we are talking about financial literacy. It's become such an important part. We are talking about global competency. These subjects have become, actually, they've come up in the list of skill-based subjects, where we talk about financial literacy, how to go to the bank and do the bank work. It's not about bank work, how to save money. In our days, nobody told us how you need to save money. There are so many 101 things that have come up. So this is where we have to give that kind of exposure to the children, right? Of course, this everybody knows about. These are the multiple intelligences. And if we do not use these intelligences, they become dormant. Yes, so I have to ensure that my classroom teaching should have a little bit of all the intelligences so that my children, they grow well all together. Like you can connect this beautifully with Fink's taxonomy, because that is where the whole circle of the growth of the child reflects like the sun rays. Okay, not just vertical as in blooms, but like sun rays as in fins. So we are talking about interdisciplinary skills all across, where we are talking about the subject integration, the integration of the attitudes, the integration of the skills, because I saw in the instructional designs presented by the teachers that you have mentioned, that attitudes and skills and the people's, the interpersonal skills or whatever it is. So basically, we are talking about an integration of the scholastic, the co-scholastic, the emotional, all the aspects, the cognitive, metacognitive, and the emotional aspects have to be brought out in your teaching strategies, in your teaching program, right? So when we talk about integration of math, integration of English, a topic which is taken up maybe in science, should be also integrated in English, should be integrated with maths, should be integrated with dance, should be integrated with music, should be integrated with theater, should be integrated with art, should be integrated with life skills. Right? So this is how we have to start planning and start thinking, and every intelligence is present in all of us. It's just that we have to highlight each and every intelligence in us and brush it up. Only then it will be shown. Otherwise, as I said, it becomes totally dormant. So this is my personal satisfaction, the student's success, emotionally as well as attaining. So emotions, students enjoy their leading, are motivated to learn and adopt a mastery goal orientation. They engage in dialogue with a few long pauses, are willing to tackle challenging tasks and asking for help when needed. Metacognitive, I've already spoken about, have some understanding of their own learning process and achievement. They make appropriate task selections, asking questions in line with their needs, and accurate task performance prediction. Accurate task performing prediction. You understood this? That is because they have done their own self-directed learning. They can accurately say that where have I gone wrong, and they can predict their performance very well. Cognitive, students succeed with their assigned math activities. Students are cognitively engaged. They ask questions, respond to questions, and they self-explain. This is about math, so we need not take that, but it is all-round activities, all subjects integrated, right? So that would be the day when I feel very, very personally satisfied that yes, I have succeeded in my plan of pedagogy, taking pedagogy into consideration, giving my students the platform for self-directed learning and giving them the opportunity to work on their own and assess themselves on their own. With that, start by doing what's necessary, then do what is possible, and suddenly you're doing the impossible. That's why I was going on telling you from first slide that it will not happen in a jiffy. It's not going to happen in 1 day or 2 days. It will take time, but you have to start somewhere because it is necessary. It is going to be very, very integrated in the education system from coming years. Then do what is possible, and suddenly you are doing the impossible. Right now, you may feel that it is impossible. I don't know what ma'am is talking about, but tomorrow you will feel that what was it? Nothing. Nothing is impossible, right? So with that note, thank you so much and all the best.
Thank you, Pratima ma'am. Now let me take your attention to our next supporter, Q Shala. Q Shala is led by a team of international and national quiz winners who is pioneered in conducting quizzes for the central and state governments and some of the leading newspapers like Prajavani and The Hindu. What more, Q Shala also holds 2 Limca records for having conducted quizzes on all 7 continents and conducting the first one ever on the Antarctic. Amazing, isn't it? They also have a fun quiz to keep us engaged and charge our batteries further. Over to you, Team Kushala.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, Shilpa ma'am, for the lovely intro and talking about achievement. Let's have one round of question again. You know the drill. You have to send in your answers on chat box. Please respond directly to me at Komal_Kushala if possible. And here's your question. So Kushala is all about sparking curiosity through questions. And going with the theme of achievement, here's the question in front of your screen, which says, in December of 2020, Time Magazine announced its first ever Kid of the Year award. It went to 15-year-old Gitanjali Rao, who, among other things, has developed an app, rather aptly named it Kindly. She did this to tackle a problem that several children have been facing since social media has become so popular. It was a messaging app that did not allow the users to send across certain harsh words. What problem was Kindly an effort to solve is the question. This app, developed by Gitanjali Rao, is making an attempt to solve which problem, which we get to see in class, and almost every third child goes across this experience in his or her childhood. So the question is, what problem was Kindly, an app by 15-year-old Gitanjali Rao, was trying to solve? I can see a lot of responses on chat, and it's overwhelming and very heartening to see the lovely response that you all have been giving us, teachers. So let's go with someone who has attempted the question and gave us a spot on answers for the very first time. May I request Rajni Verma ma'am to please come off mute and share. What do you think is your answer? Rajni Verma ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon, ma'am. I think it was an app to help children who are being bullied.
So you think the app is trying to
and in the present situation, cyberbullying.
Cyberbullying. All right.
Yes.
And ma'am, what made you think so?
Because a child has developed it, first of all, and it will be something related to their own age group and what they go through. So that will be one of the most apt answers, I thought.
Ranjini ma'am, I must say that you are absolutely right. The answer is online bullying. And this app that we have been talking about uses natural language processing and adaptive artificial intelligence, the first session that we were referring to monitor speech, and it blocks any attempt to send the text and gives people a chance to think before sending on threatening messages online. I think I really appreciate the effort that this child has made, and probably a lot of us need to have an insight and probably just gather more information and awareness towards the topic that is trending on these days because of more use of technology and gadgets all around us. So thank you for responding, ma'am, and I would love to share for you to share your number with us as well. Also, kudos to other participants who have given us the right answer. Talking about us, we are Kushala. We are known for sparking curiosity by our way of asking questions. We have sparked curiosity in more than 1 lakh children in India and partnered with more than 100 schools and developed curiosity even for more than 1,000 schools again. We are known for an event that is our main product, and that happens on weekly basis, which is called as Family Quiz. It's a 1-hour engagement on Sunday using Zoom and Kahoot. It has 2 different categories, which is juniors and sub-juniors, happening at 11 and 3 p.m. every Sunday. We have been having different quiz masters from eternal fields, right from authors and corporates and politics, and that have been very helpful, and their insights have been sparking curiosity again in children with the work that they have done before. We intend to cater to all different subjects, ranging from journal awareness, quizzing, collaboration, critical thinking, and the motive is to just spark curiosity. You also stand a chance to get the winners, those who participate, to win amazing prizes on weekly basis. Here are certain testimonials that our families and students have to say about us. And we also have one very specific product, which is very new, which is called as QShala Curiosity widget, which is completely free of cost right now for your schools to incorporate on their website, which has updated weekly content, and the students who go through the questions, which is there on their website, also stand a chance to win the prizes on weekly basis. Again, this is completely free. We have incorporated this in more than 50 schools in Pan India. More than 20,000 students are participating, and almost 60 and more have won prizes worth rupees 25,000. Here's a small snippet of QShala Curiosity Widget tournament that we are launching from 20th September, and just little snippet for all of you to have a chance to look what is it about.
Hello, curious minds. We invite you for the QShala Curiosity Widget Tournament in September. This is a call for all children to win bragging rights for their talent. It is a quizzing marathon with a new quiz every day for 5 days. We will celebrate a unique theme for each quiz of the tournament. Join the QShala Curiosity Widget Tournament for a week of fun, learning and rewards. What are you waiting for? Head to the Curiosity Widget to participate. We wish you all the best.
And with this, I request you all to please give an attention to QShala Curiosity Widget. Not taking much of your time, here's your next question on screen, which is a connect sort of question. So you already know what are we going to do with that. There are different images displayed. They are pointing onto one specific theme or topic. You have to actually see the link, how they are connecting to lead you to one specific answer. Please send in your answers on chat box again, and feel free to give it a shot with your quirkiest guess that you have. Okay, I have already got very accurate answers from 2 people. I'm requesting others to think about it a little more and give it an attempt. What do you think it is? Here on one picture, you see New York City. In middle, you see Isaac Newton, the scientist. You also see a doctor with a cross thing, maybe saying him to just stay away. On right hand side, you see Steve Jobs with the founder, and then at bottom, you see Snow White. What is all these clues leading you to? Let's pick someone who has attempted to give the right answer at very first chance. And may I request Archana ma'am to come off mute and please share your answer with us.
Yeah. Hello, ma'am.
Hello, Archana ma'am. What do you think answer is?
It's Apple, ma'am.
Apple. And what made you think it's Apple?
Yeah. First thing is Snow White was given the poisoned apple. Apple
Okay.
the doctor away. Washington apple. Newton's law and Steve Jobs.
You are absolutely right, and love the way how you actually related each and every clue in the picture. You are very absolutely right. Spot on. Thank you for so much for your answer. It's New York City, the Big Apple. Isaac Newton, you all know the theory, how we invented and discovered gravity, when the apple fell on his head. You see Steve Jobs, founder of Apple. Then you see Apple keeps the doctor away, and Snow White has its all trail with related to Apple. Thank you so much, Archana ma'am, and requesting you to share your details again with us. That's all about for now. We'll see you again after the session. Thank you everyone, and dropping our details to get in touch with us on chat box here. Thank you, ma'am. Over to you.
Thank you, Komal.